a dream that I had a long time ago about my cousins. My cousin was married to an agent. She just had an anniversary. We just celebrated an anniversary. um, Anyhow, I had a dream a long time ago. I have it written down in a book. And she married, this is her third husband, I think. She was married young to her high school sweetheart, and they broke up. They had 3 kids, 3 sons, adorable, little sons. And after that, they got divorced when they were older, maybe about 12, 13, something like that, 14. They were a little bit like young, but teenage, for the most part. And she remarried someone else, and then when they got divorced, they were full-fledged teenage, like 16, 15, something like that. And when she married her third husband, I remember being at that wedding. The second wedding was in Las Vegas, I think. Third wedding was in Portage. And I remember being at that wedding, and some of them just acting a little weird, and like I don't see them very often for them to be acting weird like that, but they were. So I'm like, okay. I remember having a dream about them, her kids, and her whole household was sitting on the floor, and her husband was standing there over them, and they were all forced to sit on the floor and eat and just kind of like live in subjection, like a subjection type of lifestyle. Fast forward maybe 10 years, the news, well, first of all, her husband, like I said, works for the FBI in Chicago, and I used to work for the DOJ. When I quit working for the DOJ, it was for the reason that they used my, well, first of all, my dad died, and my mom was grieving very hysterically. I began to experience break-ins in my house, identity theft, phone being forwarded to someone that I didn't know at the time. I was switching carriers, phone numbers, and it was too much, and my work was weird. They were promoting unqualified people, grandchildren, daughters, stuff like that. So I was like, and I was noticing that they would celebrate someone being there for 80 years in the same exact position, and they compartmentalize everything. So like all they do is check the mail. You can never grow, basically. And I didn't like that. So when I realized, after I was passed over for that promotion, which was fine, my immediate supervisor, who was unqualified for her job, educationally, number one, experientially, number two, but she's been there for a long time. She's been there with the DOJ since high school. So that's basically why she was promoted, and she used to work as the executive assistant to the former district attorney, John Lausch. So they were friends, according to her. She's like, he's my friend, and I was chatting with him for a couple of hours. Oh, okay. Anyhow, doesn't help us accomplish our mission goals, you know what I'm saying? But all right. Anyhow, when I realized that not only did I get passed over because she said I wasn't ready, but also she began to put in place barriers to promotions, to making the jump from a legal assistant to a paralegal, which is the next step in the progression of a legal profession. She ended up saying that you would have to be a litigation agent for so many years, and then you can go on to apply for a promotion as a paralegal. So I knew then that this place is full of shit because you aren't qualified. You haven't learned a goddamn thing. You're not even trying to. All you do is sit in the office of the HR director and the district attorney and kiss their ass. And I don't plan to do that because I have work to do. So when I realized that, I knew right then and there that this was not the place for me because I didn't align with their culture. That wasn't going to be a good fit for me because I completed my degree and have years of experience. I've been doing this for 3 years without having been trained. So, yeah. I knew then that I was going to start applying other places. And I kind of had a sneaky suspicion. So when it came time for me to depart, there were no like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Because I had demonstrated in a graph how much of the workload that I was carrying, and it should have been equally distributed. It just wasn't. So when I brought that to her attention, she's like, no, this is correct. I'm like, okay. And she's like, I already talked to the supervisors and they agree with me. Okay. So since that's how it works around here, I already knew and I began applying elsewhere. So when push came to shove, I wasn't scared of, losing that job. Now what happened afterward was, what I didn't realize was happening was the people that were using my phone lines was the DOJ. And they were doing it to build cases. They were trying to do little shit to get me to seem like I was using my phone for work purposes, which I never did. Things like, we need to take pictures of the check and email it to Agatha. Okay, so I'll take a copy. That's what we've always done. I'm not going to be emailing shit. I'm not going to be using my phone because it's not a work issued phone. And if my phone gets hacked, that check can get hacked. So I won't be using my personal phone for work purposes. And I sent a detailed message concerning that, and it was quite the little argument. We had a whole meeting about it, in fact, and I told her, I'll take a copy, but I won't be taking a picture of the phone. I'll find someone who has a work-issued phone. They can take a picture, but I won't be using my shit for your work, for your office, because it's a security breach. And our IT says we're not to be using our phones. We literally have training every year. So that didn't work out for them the way they wanted it to. And I ended up leaving, and they ended up pretending that they needed to check on me. But little did I know the reason that they needed to check on me is because they were making powerful enemies using my identity, like billionaire enemies that I could never fight against. And subsequently, after cases close, extorting these people. The agents with the, what's it called? We'll call it the blackmail. What they do is they get a girl, pretty girl, sexpionage worker, to hit up influential or person of means, affluent person. Once they get connected, they raid their Wi-Fi router and all their files, collect intel, send risky messages and get risky photos back, and blackmail them with that afterward. They first, lure them into thinking that they can do crime. When they get them on the hook for a deferred prosecution agreement and a non-disclosure agreement, then they come back and the agents hit them up for personal gain. The sexpionage workers. I think they thought that they would be able to turn me into one of these people by now, and they never were able to get my approval or agreement. And I have filed a lawsuit to make them leave me alone, stop interfering with my phone lines, stop interfering with my opportunities through filing a lawsuit. Because I never gave any indication that I wanted anything to do with that shit. No indication at any time ever. I literally have my USA Job Bank login showing that I only ever applied for a paralegal position. That's the only interest I expressed ever. Text record showing that my messages were forwarded from a phone that I got after leaving the DOJ. An email message communication from the executive director, the IT director, and the HR director, and my immediate supervisor, which they all acknowledge that they know that I departed as of a certain date. I literally asked them, are there any cases involving me or my phone line? No, was the answer. So, they are personally liable and possibly criminally liable. That brings us current. Now, back to my original statement about the floor. People sitting on the floor in all white clothing, like little institutional mutts, being treated like literal dogs. This weekend, the ICE immigration enforcement hit up Chicago, and Kristi Noem, who's a national Homeland Security Director or something like that, I'm not entirely sure of her title, was also in Chicago. They raided an apartment building and were sitting elderly people on the floor. They don't have criminal warrants. Children on the floor. They don't have criminal warrants. So I believe that the dream was telling me, as you see by the confirmation of the sun, the shine of the sun, it's pointing to now and the direct impact of the actions of the crooked extortionists, excuse me, who could not leave me alone after things were clearly done, after my employment was clearly severed. And because I complained on several occasions and it was always ignored, we find ourselves where we are currently at. In a shitstorm, a political shitstorm, every kind possible. And that division is under severe scrutiny. Now, they fired people, but that's not nearly enough for the crimes that they committed using their resources. So there's that. I hope that you guys have a good day. I know that it is a hard pill to swallow, but we'll let it be fought out in the court.